Hello and welcome to another edition of Sports Unlimited right here on 50 Bands on TV, live on Facebook and also on YouTube. I'm sure yesterday you enjoyed our conversation with Augustina Hinful and Derek Boateng. And today I have in the studio my own friend, good friend and brother, to join us to have a conversation on his job as well as the traits of the FA. Sometimes I don't know how to call him, but I'm sure many of you refer to him as Mr. Hart, Henry Asante. His name is Henry Asante. I just leave the rest like that. What's it area?
Suka, never.
He's a prince from Isuboy.
The star, Isuboy star.
Isuboy star. It's been a while.
Yes. Good to see you.
Yeah, good. This year I haven't seen you.
No, we haven't met
I
this
haven't
year.
seen you this year.
No. I think once a while we speak on phone, but we hardly meet these days.
We spoke a lot more during the World Cup last year, but I haven't seen you. But how have you been?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
The pot belly is coming.
Really?
Is the PR job good?
Maybe it's born out of stress.
Maybe the pure water. Henry Asante is our communications director of the FA, and we want to get into some conversations regarding some of the policies and programs put together by the FA and see how we can all come on board, support it, and make it work. The bigger picture is Ghana football. That's what we are doing today. You can be sending us your messages on the Facebook page, and then we'll be reading it out for you as and when we get them. So, Henry, job as communications director of the FA, an FA that has such a big constituency, especially football people.
Yeah.
Difficult?
Yeah, very very difficult, Mr. Watson. Very difficult in the sense that there is a lot of pressure. Everything you are doing in terms of policy, organization, implementation, execution, you will be judged based on results. So when you cook the food, whatever it is, nobody is interested in what went into, putting that package together. But in the end, it is what the public consume that matters. And I think that's where the difficulty is. Unfortunately, the story hasn't been too good from 2020, 21, 22, 23. Performance of our national teams have not been overly impressive. Yes, you can go into the factors, but I think that's where the major issues are. The meat of the issue is we just need to look into it and find out why our national teams are not doing well. Yes, some post-mortem has taken place.
If you're looking at where you sit, back in the day, you and I will sit in the press box to watch a game. Now, from where you sit, what is the difference between sitting in the press box and watching a game, and then sitting where you sit currently as communications director and watching a game?
It's a bit difficult now compared to when I used to hold a microphone, because now the public is watching. They are looking at what you are putting together, unlike before when you had a broader view and a better appreciation of the issues, and you speak to those issues. Today you need to give the people something to talk about, and that's where the difficulty is. I've been to a game recently. I think one of our qualifiers, was it in Zimbabwe? It was in South Africa when we played against Ethiopia. After 16 minutes, I couldn't watch the game. But I'm sure this wouldn't have happened if I was holding the microphone as a commentator. I needed to put aside the emotions and still carry on, And so, yes, there is a huge difference between what we do as journalists and what we report as reporters and what we see than being in this particular position. You must drive the conversation. You need to look for content for the people. You need to find means to inform the people. You need to find means to feed the people. And it has to be a conscious effort. You need to do it on daily basis.
Do you begin to think about what to say in a game, in the 85th minute of a game, if your national team is not doing well?
Yes.
Do you begin to think about what to say next?
Yes.
You think about them?
Yes, especially when the game is over. You need to quickly rush to the dressing room to engage the coach. Think of what you think should be the news. And sometimes your opinion does not matter. Because if it is about the opinion of you and the coach, then you better stop working. But it's about sometimes putting together a story, a good story, that would not hurt or harm anybody.
Yeah.
Because you also need to look into the dressing room and look at the various individuals concerned. You have players there whose careers are at stake, and you must protect them. So as soon as you pick out one, even if the person, even if it is obvious that you consider through a mistake, an individual error or whatever, you must find a way to protect that individual.
Do you
that
think
player.
you have grown all of a sudden acquiring this position? You think you have grown, looking at how you may have probably criticized the player or seen the player as a journalist from what you see now as from where you sit?
Yes, yes, I have. I think the first. Let me admit that the first 2 years was a struggle. Yes, the first 2 years was a struggle because then you need to decipher. You need to look into the mirror ball and decide where you position yourself and where you sit. I still wore the cap of a journalist in the first year to the second year, but now I am much mature into the job. I know what to say, when to speak, how to speak, and sometimes it's not about telling a lie, but sometimes it's about looking at the broader picture, look at the industry in general, and say things that protects the industry and will not harm the industry.
So I'm sure by now you appreciate more the kind of work people like Randy Abe, people like
Ibrahim
Tani
Sani,
Dara.
yes.
I'm sure you
Yes,
appreciate more what they have
and
done.
I relate to them on daily basis. Randy, for instance, sometimes when I have an interview, I call him on phone and I tell him, Doc, I have an interview on this platform. Which areas do you think I need to tackle, or what is your advice? And I spend a number of minutes on the phone with him. He takes me through, guides me, avoid this, avoid using that jargon, don't do this, don't do that. And Sani as well. Unfortunately, he doesn't live in Ghana mostly these days, so I reach out to him on phone. And we do that regularly. And for me, I think the two have been very, very good to me.
Are there times that you wish you were not speaking on any particular issue? Because
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
I mean,
I can
like-
give you numerous examples.
because
The first one-
something may probably have happened within the FA,
Yeah.
and you wish you
Yeah.
were not talking about it because in your heart of hearts you thought, in Kayi,
Yes.
and therefore
The
I
first
wish-
one, the first one was 2 seconds after our defeat to the Comoros in Cameroon. Minyayanka, you know. And I remember I was sitting with Alex Asante. He was next to me at I think right in front of the VVIP. Then I remember everything he said. Name Ejuma Ben Granny. You know. So you look at the number of minutes that goes into preparing the team, not the technical side, but the administrative side.
Yeah.
For instance, I didn't sleep for 3 continuous days when we arrived in Qatar because there was a lot of work to do. Administrative, correspondence to FIFA, emails, this, that, and there was a day dedicated for me to go and speak to the media, the FIFA partners, on pronunciation of Ghanaian names. 1 full day dedicated for that. So you wake up in the morning, you step out of the hotel, and you spend almost the whole day outside. Immediately when you come back, it's time for training. You change into your training gear, off you go again, you know. So it's quite tough. And you prepare jerseys, you prepare administrative, you prepare caution sheets, you put all these things together, the administrative part. And the team goes out to play and the results don't look positive. Sometimes it demoralizes you. I mean, it drains, it's very, very draining. And that Comoros game took a lot from me. I mean, my energy level was so down. I remember I went to the dressing room, mandatory post-match press conference. I needed to go and fetch the coach and take him to the dressing room. And mostly, I need to work on what the coach says and plan the post-match with him. But I lost touch. I didn't know what was going on. The only time I remember was entering into the press area or the media area, and then I introduced the coach and I went off. Until the next day when I heard the sound being played on radio, I couldn't recall any single thing that the coach said. It's one of my worst moments, in this job since I took this particular and position. And then the defeat to Uruguay
Mm.
also did me a lot of harm.
Mm.
When we needed just a draw to qualify. Luckily enough, it became quite easy following the result of the other match,
Yeah.
the South
South
Korea
Korea game, yeah.
versus Portugal game. The Koreans won, and so we needed just a draw
Yeah.
because we had a better head-to-head
Yeah.
compared to South Korea,
Yeah.
and we lost. You know, we didn't lose because the team did not fight. We lost because immediately after the penalty, that was a crestfallen moment,
Yeah.
and the team couldn't get back to its level to fight for the draw, and we exited. And then I think the recent one was the U23.
Mm.
The U23
Yeah.
in
The Black Meteors.
in
Morocco.
Morocco.
Mm.
Mr. Bansin. I was watching the game. I think before the game, I invited some friends to come over. It was just after official working hours. So I
You were
rushed.
not in Morocco.
No, I wasn't in Morocco. I sent my deputy, William Bosman, to Morocco. So I invited a few friends to come home for us to watch the match. And then I was 100% sure we would win. Then we scored first. Then the dynamics of the game changed. We didn't look pretty good. We didn't play well. We looked ordinary. And immediately after the second half whistle, we conceded. In the end, we were out of the competition, and I couldn't. Till date, I still don't know what happened because I haven't.
What do you think has attributed, to these monumental failures, as far as the national teams are concerned? If you look at under 17, under 20, U23, the Black Stars itself, all the difficulties, the ladies side as well. The only ladies team standing now is the Queens.
Queens, yeah.
The Black Maidens, the Princesses, they're all struggling. What is attributing to these things?
Well, I think there are various factors, and sometimes we have to be very blunt. You do not have to mince words. I think that we neglected building the foundation in years ago, because if you have a plan in place, you can lose 500 players and replace them easily. And so I think that for a football nation like Ghana, going 10, 15 years without a plan is what is affecting us today.
I thought Benkofi had a 5-year development plan.
It got truncated at some point. It got truncated at some point.
Because that plan actually is what gave us the 2009 squad that went.
Yes,
to
I
2020.
remember. Yes, I remember when Benkofi took office and decided to use proper U17 for U17 championships.
Yeah.
The first qualifiers, I think it was against Kenya. We didn't qualify for the under-17 African Championship because that was when he took a bold decision that let's use the schoolboys to play in the U17. It was part of the plan. But I think the first 2 years was a struggle. But subsequently, the plan worked out perfectly.
So we're not patient.
Yes. Because if you look at, I remember again in 2002, I mean, you were on TV, the Dynamite Show on GTV with Rosalie Amo, Maurice Kwanzaa and co.
Right.
And during Mali 2002, you remember he pushed the late Osam Dudu to use a younger team.
Yeah.
So the CK Akonos, the Prekons, the Himfos, and what have you, were all pushed away. The only two senior players in the team then were Sami Kufo and Emmanuel Dia.
There was a complete transition from the 2001
Yes,
Argentina squad.
yes, and
Derek Duarte and co.
that was when he brought in Derek, Essien, Pentil, Pimpon, Ibrahim Razak. You remember, you know.
Yeah.
Sami Eje was the goalkeeper. Steven. Steven Tete was the following year. But these players exited the AFCON at the quarterfinal. We lost to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Subsequently, these players took us to the World Cup. So the plan from 2001 didn't work in 2002, but it didn't work in 2004 as well. You remember we didn't qualify for CAN 2004 in Tunisia. But we made it to Egypt again. First round. And then we went to the World Cup. And on and on and on. The plan to replace Apia, Montari, Derek is what is affecting us today because we did not put a holistic plan together. And it's not about who is at the helm today. Even if, I mean, sometimes, yes, you put 1 and 2 together. If you are lucky, you get results. But when there is a plan in place, it will always give you consistency. England is winning almost every championship because they are following the plan. They are investing. They are conscious. They are patient. And this is a project they began years ago.
And it's actually likely England will win the World Cup in 2026.
It is likely.
Very likely.
From what they showed in Qatar.
Very likely.
And they have a younger generation who are also coming up.
Very likely, yes.
So
even though I don't like that idea.
Years ago.
That England will win the World Cup.
Yes, because of the noise.
I know, right? We won't sleep.
So years ago, who would have thought that England will win U19 Euros, U19 World Cup, and U21, and recently they've won the U21 European Championship, and they are also, I think, in the women's European Women's Championship, they got to the final. Unfortunately, lost in the final. They are going for another Women's World Cup in Australia, New Zealand. I'm sure they will perform. They will perform well. So, Mr. Watson, where we are today is because there was no plan yesterday, and that's the truth. Now, when you qualify for competitions, it's good for you to qualify for the competitions. So, for instance, since 2014, we had not made it to the CHAN. So it was good that this time we made it. But qualifying is one thing, impact is another thing. Factors affect performance. So it could be technical, it could be poor selection, it could be maybe mismanagement of players. Sometimes the players refuse to play, like it happened in Brazil. So some of these factors also cave in during the tournament. But I think that generally we have not been good in terms of making appearances in almost every competition.
What do you say to people who say to the FA that selection to the national team is not on merit? People have their own players. I mean, I'm sure you've heard a lot of those criticisms. People have their own players they want to feature in the national team at all costs, whether they are good or bad. The FA has a certain set of number of coaches who they want to work with and don't want to work with others. I mean, there's all those criticisms come up to the FA. I'm not in a position to decipher whether these are true, but you come from within the stock. Is it like there's a plan that certain number of players who belong to certain officials are the ones who must play the national team? There seems to be some kind of conversation around that. And it seems to be gaining a lot of grounds that, you know, Kurt has his players, Osekre has his players. Some people have players within the national team that must feature at all times in the national team. I'm sure you've heard them.
Yes. I have. Let me begin with the coaching issue. For instance, I think we've had a number of coaches, you know, at the helm.
They say if you don't sign for Proton Sports as a coach, you don't get a chance to coach the national team.
As far as I'm concerned, none of them, is a client of Proton Sports. For instance, today we have Nora Hauptel, who comes from Switzerland, a former Swiss international, grew up in Germany, has played in Germany, has worked in Israel, has worked in Switzerland. Today he's in charge of the Black Queens. She's played 4 matches. She's yet to concede. She's scored 10 goals. That's incredible. We hope, and it's our prayer, that she takes us to the Olympic Games in Paris. So let me take it national team by national team. Yao Prekon is the head coach of the U15.
I don't want us to mention names.
No, I'm only
so that it doesn't look like we are personalizing.
Yeah, okay, all right. But from the U15, we have coaches who are either ex-national players or coaches who have paid their dues over the period. I do not want to believe that the ex-players either work for agency A or agency B. And for me, most of them got the job based on their competence and is on merit. Let me say that, for instance, our brother Lai Kingston, for all he has done, Lai, I'm sure by close of this year he will be a UEFA license A holder. You know, he works for Norgeland. He has done a lot for himself. Played to the highest level. Unfortunately, couldn't play at the World Cup. Today, he's in charge of the U17. He took the team together with Zito to Serbia to play in the Africa. Yes, Zito. And then he sent the team to Saudi Arabia all alone because the coach decided to give him that chance to just take the team to Saudi Arabia, played 2 matches, won 1, drew 1, and then they came back. So the Laye Zito combination, since they came, took charge of the team, have yet to lose a match, both locally and internationally. There are other names that I can mention, but like you said, I mean, we do not have to personalize it. I think that sometimes, it becomes an issue. Mr. Bunsen, it becomes an issue when the results are not forthcoming. And I have always said that you are judged by your last result.
Yeah.
So today, if somebody is talking about a coach like Tanko, the first question will be, he's taken us to 2 U23 championship. What were the results? But maybe one will be wrong to judge him only based on those results. So coaching is a bit difficult, especially in our part of the world.
Coaches are marked by their results.
By absolutely.
They are marked by their results.
Absolutely, but sometimes you are given room to improve. Sometimes, immediately when the results don't go well, you are sacked. Because you are hired today, you are fired tomorrow, and the coaches know. Now, on the issue of players, for instance, as we speak, over 150 players have been called up by Didi Dramani, who is now the coach of the Black Galaxies, the local Black Stars, or the Black Stars B. Now, in this team, there are players from Division 2, Division 1, and of course the Premier League who have been called up. The reason for this call-up is to try as much as possible and get a database, because we are very much aware that some of them will leave anyway because the transfer window has opened. It's possible we may lose some of these players to foreign clubs, because that's the only way we can survive and keep the industry afloat and running. So Didi spoke to the leadership and said, I want to go to camp with these players so that we'll have a database. Tomorrow, when we are deficient in the Black Stars, we need to have a collection or a pool of players we can easily fall on. So he's in camp. He started yesterday. The first batch, 24 players, are in Pram Pram. They will finish tomorrow. The second batch will go. They will finish on Saturday. The next batch until the 4th batch. Then he will select from these different batches. Another group will go phase 2, phase 3. Then you have a standing team in place. Touch wood. Let's say at the end of the season we wouldn't lose a player, or at the end of the season nobody gets injured. These players form the nucleus of the home base Black Stars, so that when tomorrow you need a left back, you don't have to now go around looking for a left back, because you have a standby team and you can easily pick from there. And this process,
But that's the ideal situation.
and this process, yes, this process cuts across the national teams. Before Tanko settled on the 25 players he sent to Morocco, I'm sure he invited over 70 players. Went to Pram Pram. Eventually, he decided that, okay, I want to use more of the foreign-based
But Henry,
players.
don't you think that, I mean, that for me sometimes is an exercise in futility, because if you're going to, let's say, a tournament like Morocco,
Yeah,
the AFCON in Morocco,
yeah.
why do you even invite as many players to camp as like possible, like 70 players? Just an example. Because you must have, over the years, a core number of players that you know
Yeah.
are maybe your first 18.
18 years.
Okay?
And
Then
then you
you
leave the
look at
door.
the weakest link
Yeah.
within the core and plug those weak links within
Yeah.
the team.
Yeah.
But if you invite a whole squad again, then you're now coming to do another exercise of pruning down. Eventually, none of the people you are even bringing in may even qualify to join your core. Why do we still do that? Because sometimes I even see it in the national team, the Black Stars. Oh, we have a game against Madagascar. Then we call 30 players. We know 30 players is not what we should call. Why do we do that? Why do we constantly do that?
Because I think that okay, for instance, let me speak to the Tanko issue. So Tanko had a team in place from the U20 squad that won the African Championship. Remember in Mauritania, that team had Ishahaku, Danlad,
Yes.
Ibrahim, Philip,
Yes.
Philemon Bafo,
Yes.
and those players.
Yes.
You know, so he had some of those players in place. Then he had the other team that also went to, is in Niger, and couldn't make it to the AFCON. He selected some of them, and they were also in the team. But in the course of the season, I'm sure he was scouting. And so the players he scouted in the course of the season who were still eligible to play the U20 championship, he wanted to give them an opportunity, a more, he wanted to have a more, close-in observation of these players, for which reason he spoke to the FA that he would go to camp with these players. So he was in camp, he was in Pram Pram. But finally, the few he selected from Accra Lions, Kotoko, he didn't get any player from House of Oak before, because they are U23 players. I think at some point they dipped in form. Even though some of them played in the qualifiers, they couldn't make the cut. Then he brought in some foreign-based players to augment the squad, including Nuema, who had a brilliant season at Norgeland.
So he misbehaved a lot.
Yes, so I hear.
Yeah.
But once the coach is yet to report in an official, report to the FA, we all want to wait for that official report. But I understand it wasn't.
Yeah, I hear he was
good
very
at all.
unprofessional and he misbehaved a lot. And I'm saying this is the first time you're being invited to a major tournament like this for Ghana, and you go there and you go and misbehave.
Especially when you're already in the Black Stars, you needed to set a good example.
Exactly. Henry, well, I'm sure when we decide to go on that route, we wouldn't be able to finish today. But let's go straight to the DNA conversation before we round up our conversation, because I know you have a lot on your table today. What is the launch of the DNA or the philosophy supposed to achieve? What is it supposed to do?
It's to fix our fundamental weakness, and it's to fix our fundamental deficiencies. So when you have a special talent, all you need to do is to groom that talent, train the talent, and nurture the talent. So Abedi Pele is an example. Mohamed Polo is an example. Maybe Opokunti is an example. Opoku Efriye. These are special talents. Even without coaching, they are world class, on their own. But the game has moved on. And the transition today is that when you don't fix the basics, you can never achieve anything. So the technical directorate has been looking at the history of Ghana football. They've been listening around, nosing around, asking people about the history of Ghana football and what identifies a Ghanaian footballer. Unfortunately, our previous coaches, they had different philosophies based on their personal understanding of the game. So your very good friend, my father, Coach Sam Ade, had a certain philosophy.
The multi-system.
The late Osam Dodu had a different philosophy. Jones Atukwefio, may he so rest in peace. What he did at House of Oak.
Actually, all three you have mentioned have departed.
Yes. And then Ike Afrani, he brought up the Nobwa, system.
Yeah.
So they all had different philosophies. And so once they are gone, that philosophy is gone. But we need a system that would guide these young talents through from age 10, 12, 14, 15, before
so it's a
they
bottom
hit.
up approach.
Yes. Before they hit the national teams, you need a certain system to guide them.
Now, when you did that analysis, what was the focal point on the weakness?
Lack of technique and basic training at the grassroots level. That's the
lack of technique.
Technique, yes, and basic training.
That's interesting, because we all say to ourselves that Ghanaians are multi-talented already, and that we just need a bit more of an upgrade to be able to fit into every system.
You know the coaches who were coaching at the grassroots level back in the day, most of them were doing that out of passion.
Yes. And
some of them were footballers who did not, play to the highest level. And so they want to help the community. So most of those clubs, Kindoko, Fortizo, Halifax, Adman Probi, Indafa Park, what's the name? Ken Harrison Babies, and all those ones. Noble RX at Dakuma.
Yeah.
Most of them were coached, most of these clubs or teams were coached by ex-internationals who needed something to keep up.
Actually, some of them were not even footballers.
Yes.
Like Sonny Halifax
and
Co.
Yes. Our Henry Aye and Co. were doing it out of passion for the job.
Yeah.
But they did not have the requisite skill and training to pass on to the kids. So you realize that most of the kids we produced in the past were either brilliant on their own, or because they played on rough pitches and poor pitches, they learnt the trade. Like Stephen Appiah, like Larry Kingston, like Derek Boateng, Gordon Atram. They learnt the trade through the hard way. But through the hard way is beginning to pass, or is past. You need to teach the child the basic technique in football. How to trap, when to trap.
Which side of your foot?
Yes, which side of your, even which side of your foot you use to trap the ball. I remember I visited, somewhere in 2005, 2006. I visited a training ground of one of our top teams. A player who had just been signed from another Premier League team did not know his instep. Meanwhile, he is already at the Premier League level. So if you are at the Premier League level and you don't know your instep, and you don't know as a player that is the best part of the foot to use to trap, then we are in big trouble. So that is what this football philosophy, the national football philosophy, seeks to address. We get the right coaches, for which reason, so we also introduced grassroots coaching courses. So grassroots coaching courses were organized across the regions, in the eastern, northern, and then we also tried as much as possible to encourage women, because I went to the northern region recently, Mr. Banson, and within 6-7 hours, I watched 10 different games of young girls, age 13, 14, 12, 15, playing. They were playing at the Tamale Stadium, the annex.
Yeah.
There are about 6-7 pitches scattered across that area because they have vast land.
Yeah.
So all they need is to put one goalpost here and the other one, and they are playing. And they need a football, and they are playing. And the girls were playing all over the place. Meanwhile, there is no coach to guide them. So we organize specialized coaching courses for only women across the country. And that is also, one of the things we want to use to address that gap or deficit in that coaching aspect of the game. So the national football philosophy is here to fix the basics.
So we're going to see things like what the Germans, the Dutch, and all of those have been doing. I.e., if you go to DFB, for example, if you look at any German team from under 17 to the top, they play in a certain mechanical way.
Yeah.
They all play the same way, the same format, and all that. Yeah. So that's what we're going to see.
That's what the philosophy seeks to address. Yes.
Okay. Now, the second question is: would our DNA and philosophy, if it's identified and it's worked on, if you're bringing in a foreign coach, which has become our taste, especially the senior national team, is the foreign coach coming to adapt to what we already have as our, so to speak, samba, or the foreign coach is bringing in a new philosophy that will contradict what we have as our DNA?
I think the first thing to consider, whoever is in charge of appointment, is to look at the DNA and identify a coach who fits into that philosophy. The first thing is your philosophy. I'm sure when Manchester City were going for Guardiola, they knew what they wanted. They knew what they were going in for, and they knew what they were signing up for. That is going to be the first principle in appointing coaches going forward, because even at the juvenile level, you need coaches of a certain caliber to coach. Because when you start from the schools, so now we want to introduce the GFA football schools. The GFA School Academy. So the GFA School Academy will be centered in the 3 zones of the country. One in the southern zone, one in the middle belt, and one in the northern zone. In the northern zone, because of the technical center we recently commissioned at Bolga, Congo. So we have gone into an agreement with the Bolga Senior High School. What it is that by the end of this month, before the beginning of the next academic year, our technical directorate, the regional technical directors, have gone around to scout junior high schools, players in the the various junior high schools, and they have a database. They have to present it to the national level, and then they will organize some sort of a justifier for the national level to go and watch the players, and we'll pick the good ones and place them in Bolga Senior High School. By the time they finish their second cycle school, the 3-year period, they will already be captured in the database. So the DNA will start from that school academy project and the GFE. So let's say you pick a 12-year-old boy from junior high school. Before he gets admitted at SSS1, you have already started the coaching, the principles, the basics at the juvenile level. And then he's also attached to a team. So he goes to school in the morning and comes to training in the evening. At a center that the FA has trained coaches and placed them there. So it starts from there. So whoever you appoint as your U17 coach comes from this philosophy thing. U20 is informed by the philosophy. U23, same. So before the player gets to the national team, he has already gone through the chains and understands the philosophy. So whoever you appoint as Black Stars coach must also be someone who will fit into this philosophy. Either than that is not going to yield the result we are looking for.
But is there a plan that maybe in the next, some of the things must be deliberately done?
Yes.
As in saying to ourselves that, okay, look, Ghana, by the next World Cup of 2030, not 2026, by the next World Cup of 2030, it should be a Ghanaian coach that should be handling the national team, the Black Stars.
Yes.
In that way, our DNA would have probably crescendoed.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
right from the down.
Yeah.
But the FA wants to probably take about 20, 30 coaches, spread them across Europe, let them go to school, let them learn, let them do all the things they have to do. But the point, some will fall on the wayside anyway. But the whole target is that we are being deliberate about it. By 2030, all our national teams, from Black Stars, Black Meteors, Galaxies, all of them should be handled by
Ghanaian
coaches.
Okay.
Same way for the women.
Yeah.
Same way across.
Yeah.
And then some of those coaches who will be able to have those opportunities will be spread into even helping our local teams. So Haas, Kotoko, Brekum, Chelsea, all of them should be able to benefit from all those coaches sent abroad. Is there a plan like that in place?
So yes, there is a plan. First of all, we have started with the women's teams. So the first thing we have done was to identify the top coaches in the women's football area, for them to do a 1-year coaching course with UEFA and the Dutch Football Federation. So we identified 5 top coaches, including our mother, Messi Tego Kwaku, Nana Adakwa, Edna Quagren, Anita Ori-Duminta, who is an ex-footballer. So some of these people.
Well, this Adjoa Bayo and all those people.
Adjoa is now one of the national team coordinators.
Oh, okay.
Some of them, not all of them, are encouraged to go into coaching.
Actually, one of my sweetest
favorites.
Yeah.
Beautiful footballer. Beautiful footballer.
I loved that woman.
Yeah, she did not allow her stature to
no.
discourage her at all.
No.
Flair and that football finesse. She had it all.
Anytime I saw her, she reminded me of Okwefriye.
Okay. Oh, okay. The male version.
The male version of Okwefriye.
Yes. Okay. Well, Adjoa was sensational. She was sensational. She's one of the national team coordinators. As we speak, she's even with the Black Queens.
Okay.
She provides some inspiration as well.
Send my love to her when you see her.
For the junior or the young players. So the first thing we did was to go into an agreement with the German Football Federation, the Dutch Football Federation, and then the German Football Federation gave us certain clubs that we should work with. So we have an agreement with Darmstadt in Germany and Hoffenheim.
Okay.
In Holland, we have an agreement with Ajax, VV Venlo, Feyenoord, and then I think Groningen.
Okay.
So Yusuf Bazigi, who is in charge of our U20 and also the head coach of Azakes ladies, and Babanuhu, who is in charge of our U17 and the head coach of Pelpia ladies, were sent to Germany to have an attachment with Hoffenheim.
Okay.
They stayed there for 1 full month, full attachment, everything football. And once the season ended, they came back. I'm sure it is no fluke that Bazigi guided the U20 to win the recent WAFU Wafu tournament in Kumasi. So we have 5 other coaches who are currently doing another coaching course with the Dutch Federation and are attached to the 4 clubs that I mentioned. The coaching course is in 2 parts. The theory aspect, they do it online. And then the practical aspect, they fly to Amsterdam for the practicals. They were in Amsterdam for 1 month in April. They stayed throughout the month of April and came back when the season ended.
Okay.
Now the vision is that by the time they complete this course, we will have at least 7 top coaches who will be already attached to clubs and will be in charge of our national teams. So for instance, Nora has 2 assistants. They are Ghanaians. One of them is part of this course. So, I mean, the long-term plan is to make sure her successor, choosing her successor does not become difficult.
Right.
So we put one of them in charge. For the U20, Bazigi's assistant. Bazigi's assistant is actually the head coach of Ampem Dakwa ladies at the U20 level. And Ampem Dakwa ladies for the past 2 years or 3 years have played Hazake's ladies in the finals of the league and the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Ampem Dakwa have won twice, Hazake's once. So what it means is that if tomorrow Bazigi is not there, his assistant, Nana Dakwa, is competent enough to replace it. So we have started with the female teams. We are also looking at replicating same for the male national teams.
Right.
And I think there is a plan in place. So you realize that in almost every team, there is either an ex-international who is an assistant studying the master.
Yeah.
And hopefully, once things begin to settle, all of them will find their level. Yeah.
So, okay, let's just see a few messages that are coming through. Ken Adams says, nice one, watching you live from South Africa. The Stohini says, great show. Ken Adams again says, I think we can plan again by being serious with our Colts football.
True.
You know, but in this Colts football conversation, I mean, yesterday Augustin Info mentioned on this show that talking about Colts football, I mean, he didn't understand what Colts meant. I mean, he is talking about juvenile football. I mean, but I gave him some explanations as to what Colts meant.
Well, who came up with that?
The name Colts?
Yes.
I don't know what the definition of Colts actually is, but it was only by way of height.
Okay. So that was when they were measuring the players.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's when they say Ojacho.
Okay.
You know, when you are above a certain height, you cannot play Colts football.
Yeah.
But you could have a player who is over 30 years and short.
Still, yes.
I mean, like you like that.
And will play for 70 years.
You can play like 80 years for the Colts because of your height. You know. So, but now juvenile football is specifically dealing with age.
Yeah.
Colts, we were assuming that once you are petite or you are short,
you can play.
You are
eligible.
Young.
Yeah.
But juvenile football now is dealing more with age, because when they say somebody is a juvenile, it comes with a certain age bracket.
Category, yeah.
Right. So when somebody says we can do this by improving our Colts football, he's looking at the old school. That's what the old school would say, Colts football. But now it's juvenile football.
Yeah.
How much attention are you guys giving, especially to juvenile football?
Okay, so we have brought back.
Because you know the academies
we have
around, and the academies
and
are
picking all the talents.
They're all actually the academies are a business organization.
Yeah.
You know,
and some of them even register in Ghana as NGOs. We'll have that conversation later.
Right.
There is an academy that's making millions of euros and dollars and pounds in Ghana. Yet in our books, it is an NGO. Yeah, we'll go into that later. I mean,
but it's an NGO.
Are you sure? Okay, so to answer your question, I think the first thing we did was to strengthen our district football associations. So we, through the regional football associations, we strengthened the district football associations because these games are played in the districts. In a municipal area, is a district and the circuits that take charge of the organization of these matches. So in areas where the district offices were weak, we brought it back and got people to man various positions so that games are organized in those areas. In my district, for instance, there are days where I move and I go to Dokrochewa to go and watch juvenile league. You know, I have been to Nankese in the last few months to watch juvenile leagues. in the Eastern Regional Juvenile Championship. So we strengthened the district level to bring back juvenile football. And then it moves on to the regional level. So for the past 2 years, we introduced something called the KGL U17 Champions League. Now this competition featured the champions from all the 10 regions.
Yeah, I remember I went to watch one at Medina.
But because Asante and Greater Accra are powerhouses, we give them 2 slots.
Okay.
So they always represented, they always had the first and second representing Ashanti and same for Greater Accra. But the other regions had only their champions. And in the last 2 editions, the winners have come from Greater Accra. A club called Mal FC from Dakuma won the first edition. They beat another Greater Accra team called Desidero in the final.
Yeah.
Last season, Great Corinthians won the second edition, another Greater Accra team.
Yeah.
But, Mr. Wanson, the truth is that this competition has been very, very beneficial. Do you know that 60% of the players that represented us in the recent under-17 were selected from that championship?
Are they 17? Are they
Yes, they are proper 17. We pick them from schools. Some of them are still in school. There are some who will be writing BC this particular term. You know, so they are proper 17. At least we can groom them for 2-3 years.
Like the 17 team that we saw with Paco Sifibin in Italy. You remember?
Yes. When we went to Italy.
Yes.
That was proper U17. It was Pakwesi and Opele, right? Yes. That was in 2013.
Yes, they lost 5-0 or something to Nigeria.
Yes.
And that team was disbanded.
Yes, disbanded.
But it was a bunch of talent.
Because we always focus on the results rather than
the building. Yeah.
You know. So
we're in the same hotel.
Yes.
With them.
Yes, with them in Novara.
Yes. Novara,
So this time round, KGL says, okay, we have seen the champions from the regions, but it's possible that Fifi Bunsen played for a team that finished bottom of the table, yet that player is exceptional. So let's rather use our coaches to scout in the course of the season and bring up their best team. So we have moved from the regions bringing their champions and runners up to regional championship. Yes.
So like an all-star team.
So this year, the 3rd edition, we are moving away from club to a regional championship.
Okay.
So the regions need to present their best players to compete. Yes. And that tournament will be held in Kumasi.
Okay.
This month.
Okay.
We are looking at 21st to 30th of this month because of school.
Right.
Because the kids, some of them will be writing exams, and some of them need to return to school. So we won't wait for them to finish their exam. Immediately when they are done, we will play the regional championship.
Okay.
And Ashanti region is hosting.
It'll be really nice to watch
the beautiful thing is that KGL Foundation is supporting us with $1 million, and this is why we have been able to do this all this while. And they also give these clubs jerseys, cones, training bibs, and other equipment to support their work.
That's one of the positives of the FA, perhaps. But as communications director, I'm sure the biggest headache is the Black Stars, and therefore some of the positives that you guys have even chalked cannot be talked about, because emphasis is more on the Black Stars. I know I have to let you go because I know you have another assignment. But we should
the
do
Black
this
Queens
again.
the Black Queens are playing. Yes.
And so therefore, if you're watching us right now live from wherever you are, through to the Accra Sports Stadium and go and give the Black Queens your biggest support. They won the first game 3-0, and they are playing second game, but of course no room for complacency. If you're working with a German coach, he doesn't give you the chance to be complacent. That's what it is about those mechanical-minded people, so that's what it is. But it's all for the good of our football. Henry, I'd like to thank you so much for your time. It was a short notice, but you made it, and I'm hoping we'll find some time
we need to do more of this
and do more conversations and look into the crystal ball and see, but I didn't ask you for your take on the Black Stars draw for the World Cup. Ghana, Mali, Comoros, Madagascar, Chad. Mali in recent times have been a boogie
the last
team
time
for
we
us.
met them, they beat us 3-0.
Yes, they've been a boogie team for us.
In Turkey. Yes.
Madagascar, we couldn't beat the last time we met them.
We beat them 3-0 here, and then we drew with them.
1-1,
And then Comoros beat us 3-2 in Cameroon.
Yeah, the one that confused
at
me.
the AFCON. I was dazed.
You.
And then I think we have yet to play Chad.
Yeah.
But in recent times, Central African Republic have also been a tough customer. We
Especially-
played 1-1
yes.
in Angola, and they are coming to Kumasi.
I was just about saying that, especially when we have to go into those high altitude areas.
Yeah, areas.
Acclimatization is always a difficult point for us. We struggle with those people.
Yeah, so we've asked the technical team to come up with their plan. I'm sure Chris will come up with something in terms of where he would like to come before games, because it's always important to know which place will be the best. You remember some time ago, we were always camping in Navasha
Yes.
before games in
Yes.
Ethiopia and
And
those
in
places.
Sudan and all those
yes,
places.
and Navasha was very, very helpful.
Yes.
I understand Navasha looks like you know, the Peduase area, where you enter and nobody comes out unless you are exiting.
Yeah.
So as soon as the players go in, all their focus is on football.
Yeah.
You do not see, you only see animals, wild animals. So because it's located in a thick forest, you know. So
green area.
and yes, and it helped us a lot. So maybe some of those decisions would be taken by the technical team, but it's a tough group.
It's a tough group.
Yeah, I don't want.
Looking
I
at
don't
our
want to
recent
mince words.
history,
Yeah,
otherwise back in the day, this
yeah,
was
yeah,
an easy group
cool
for us,
job.
but
Yeah, it's a
looking
tough
at our
group.
recent history,
It's a tough group. Mali are on ascendancy, without a doubt. Central African Republic are growing very fast. Madagascar, Comoros, yes, Comoros. 99.9% of those players we saw at the AFCON are all based in Europe.
Yeah.
Playing in second-tier competitions in France, third-tier competitions in Spain, and some of them.
Yeah, captain actually plays in Serbia.
Yes,
with Osman Bukhari.
yes, you know. So they will come very hard.
amazing,
Yes, very hard on us, especially when they know that psychologically they've beaten us before.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Their media manager is a good friend. 3 days ago, I was talking to her and I said, "We are meeting again." She said, "Yes, we will face you." You know, so yes, it is a tough group. I pray. Okay, so we have lined up a number of games before the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Likely there will be games in March. Sorry, in November.
Yeah.
So we have a game in September, the final
with the
AFCON
U-
qualifier, and then the
we have a
FA.
friendly in the
and we
US.
have a friendly in the US against USA as well. We will get a second opponent by close of day. We will announce a second opponent,
Okay.
and so by that time, I'm sure we'll play Central African Republic, get the USA, get another friendly. Then Chris might have settled. Then he will be able to.
Yeah, tell him that his last game we're not impressed.
Yeah.
Just tell him.
He
Tell him
knows.
that for us.
He knows.
We're not impressed at all.
He knows.
If this is the way he will go,
My boss is very much aware.
yes. If this is the way he will go, we will fight
You
him.
know,
But
you
we're
know,
supporting him.
we are always together. Whenever he comes to me, Henry, what are your people saying?
Yeah. You got to arrange for an interview for me
Yeah,
with
I'll,
him.
I'll
you
work
know,
on that.
Yeah, so
I'll
we
work
can
on
have
that. He's
a chat
traveling
with-
tonight. When he comes back,
Yeah,
I'll
let's
get him to
have
me.
a chat with him on his psychology,
Yeah.
his mind, and all of that, with his
Yeah.
plans, all of that.
I'll make the arrangement
yes,
for you.
Yes, Harry, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Mr. Wansi.
And I'm sure that we'll be talking again as usual. So, for those of you who are just watching us and sending us your messages, Clean Adams and Co. Faustina Emisa, you're watching us. Thank you so much. For all of you watching us from wherever you are, we wish you all the best and make a date with us again as we come your way with another one, Sports Unlimited, right here on Fifi Banson TV. Catch us on Thursday, not tomorrow, on Thursday, Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We are here. All right. Thank you so much for watching. To my team, thank you so much as well for being a part of this. Good afternoon. All right.